most powerful superheroes aren't the best written, often they're just the ones who ignore the laws of physics the hardest. Coming in at number 10, we have Magneto and his mastery over magnetism. This mutant can generate and control magnetic fields with incredible precision. While magnetism is a real force, Magneto's ability to produce fields strong enough to lift cars, manipulate metal on a global scale, and even affect non-ferrous materials like living beings goes far beyond our current scientific understanding. Creating such powerful magnetic fields from seemingly nothing and controlling them with his mind, that's a major violation of electromagnetism. At number 9, it's Vision and his power of density control. This android Avenger can shift his density to become lighter than air, allowing him to fly and phase through solid objects, or incredibly dense, making him virtually indestructible. The ability to change the fundamental density of matter at will violates the principle of conservation of mass. Where does the extra mass come from when he becomes dense? And where does it go when he becomes intangible? It's a quantum quandary that physics can't quite explain. Next up at number 8 is Iceman and his chilling control over ice. Bobby Drake can freeze water vapor in the air to create ice constructs, lower temperatures towards absolute zero, and even transform his entire body into organic ice. While he often seems to need existing moisture, the sheer amount of ice he can create seemingly from nowhere, and especially his ability to drastically lower temperatures without an apparent way to dissipate the removed heat, flies directly in the face of thermodynamics. You can't just make cold, you have to remove heat. This fundamental physical law poses a significant conundrum when analyzing Bobby's powers, begging the question, where does all that displaced thermal energy go? Real-world refrigeration requires expelling heat elsewhere, but Iceman often generates intense cold instantaneously over large areas with no visible heat sink or exhaust, leading to speculation about energy being shunted to other dimensions or processed via unknown biological means. Furthermore, Bobby's classification as an Omega-level mutant hints at capabilities far beyond simple freezing, suggesting his potential control over cryokinesis is virtually limitless. He can manipulate ice and cold on a molecular level, potentially halting molecular motion entirely, create complex, durable ice structures, and even travel vast distances by merging his consciousness with bodies of water or water vapor. This immense potential also calls into question the strict necessity for ambient moisture, as the sheer scale of his ice generation, conjuring localized blizzards or encasing large objects almost instantly, often seems to vastly exceed the available water vapor in a given area. His organic ice form adds another layer of fascinating impossibility, granting him superhuman durability and the ability to rapidly reform himself even if shattered. Ultimately, Iceman's power set, while visually spectacular and incredibly potent, operates under a classic comic book physics rulebook, prioritizing dramatic effect over strict scientific adherence, leaving the mystery of where the heat goes as one of the cool, hand-waved aspects of his abilities. Sliding into number 7 is Firestorm, the nuclear man, with his staggering power of matter transmutation, often facilitated by the unique Firestorm matrix formed by the fusion of two individuals like Ronnie Raymond and Professor Martin Stein. By supposedly controlling matter and energy right down to the molecular or even subatomic level, Firestorm can restructure elements and compounds, essentially changing almost any non-organic substance into another, theoretically constrained only by the conservation of mass energy. Turning incoming projectiles into harmless confetti, transmuting lead into specifically structured and fictional kryptonite, or transforming ambient air into powerful blasts of nuclear fire are all within his repertoire. While the concept of altering matter itself is rooted in real-world nuclear physics like fusion and fission, Firestorm achieves these feats with conscious thought, incredible speed, and unparalleled versatility, seemingly bypassing the colossal energy requirements and strict particle conservation laws that govern such events in reality. Real-world transmutation involves either immense energy inputs, like particle accelerators, or releases, like nuclear reactions, and fundamentally requires accounting for every proton, neutron, and electron, along with managing the vast differences in nuclear binding energy, processes Firestorm executes instantaneously and apparently without significant external power sources or dangerous radiation outputs. Where do the necessary subatomic particles originate, or excess particles vanish to, when changing lead, atomic number 82, to gold, atomic number 79, for instance? How is the energy balance managed without city-leveling explosions or power drains? The sheer complexity of mentally dictating precise atomic structures and chemical bonds on demand is mind-boggling. Consequently, the fundamental laws of conservation of mass and energy, not to mention particle physics and thermodynamics, take a serious, albeit dramatically convenient, hit whenever Firestorm reshapes reality with a mere thought, marking his power as pure, potent science fiction despite its physics-based inspiration. Cracking into the top half of our list at number 6 is Zoom, whose power presents a unique and physics-bending twist on super speed through localized time manipulation. Unlike traditional speedsters like the Flash, who achieve incredible velocities by accelerating their bodies within the normal flow of time, Zoom, most famously Hunter Zolomon, fundamentally alters his own personal timeline relative to his surroundings. He effectively slows down or even nearly stops time for everything except himself, making it appear as if he's moving at incomprehensible speeds, while from his subjective viewpoint, the rest of the world is locked in slow motion or frozen entirely. While Einstein's theory of relativity does explain time dilation as a real phenomenon linked to velocity and gravity, Zoom's application is profoundly paradoxical. Real-world relativity dictates symmetrical effects and consequences. Extreme speed leads to increased relativistic mass, and the speedster's own time passing slower relative to a stationary observer. Zoom, however, seems able to selectively impose extreme temporal slowing on localized areas or individuals without experiencing these reciprocal physical limitations himself. He doesn't exhibit near infinite mass, nor does he accumulate a time debt or age differently relative to the baseline timeline he interacts with. This ability to selectively carve out bubbles of altered time fundamentally messes with the fabric of space-time, raising serious physics implications. What occurs at the boundary of his temporal effect? A smooth gradient, or an impossible discontinuity? How do forces like air resistance or friction function if the interacting particles are operating at vastly different temporal rates? Even the light interacting with him should be drastically frequency shifted. Furthermore, interacting across this temporal divide raises thorny questions about causality, as actions initiated in his vastly accelerated frame impacting the slowed external world could potentially violate cause and effect sequences. The mechanism, often vaguely attributed to manipulating his connection to the timeline rather than raw speed, sidesteps how he generates the localized space-time distortion or obtains the theoretically immense energy required, while also granting him immunity to the catastrophic physical stresses, inertia, energy transfer, molecular interaction problems expected from constantly shifting between different temporal rates. Zoom's power, therefore, isn't just super speed, it's a targeted manipulation of time itself, creating visually stunning and terrifying effects, but requiring a complete abandonment of our current understanding of relativity, causality, and space-time physics. At number 5, we have Ant-Man and his incredible ability to manipulate his size. Using PIM particles, he can shrink down to microscopic levels or grow to giant proportions. While the idea of altering the space between atoms is presented as the scientific basis, the dramatic changes in size while seemingly maintaining mass lead to impossible shifts in density. Shrinking to subatomic levels would violate the Pauli exclusion principle, and the energy required for such drastic transformations is never really addressed. Soaring into number 4 is the iconic Superman and his multitude of physics-defying powers. Let's start with flight. He can defy gravity without wings or any visible means of propulsion, violating basic principles of aerodynamics. Then there's his heat vision, projecting intense beams of heat from his eyes, which would require an impossible internal energy source and control. And let's not forget his near invulnerability, able to withstand forces that would obliterate any known material. The Man of Steel certainly bends more than just steel. Cracking the top 3 at number 3 is the Flash and his mind-boggling super speed. Moving at speeds approaching or exceeding the speed of light is a direct violation of Einstein's theory of relativity. As an object approaches the speed of light, its mass increases exponentially, requiring infinite energy to reach that limit. The Flash manages to bypass this with the fictional Speed Force D, but in the real world, running that fast would have some explosive consequences due to air resistance. Our runner-up at number 2 is Longshot and his utterly improbable power of probability manipulation. This lucky mutant can subconsciously alter the odds in his favor, making incredibly unlikely events happen. While we all wish we had a bit more luck on our side, the idea of actually bending the fundamental laws of probability through sheer will is something that physics simply doesn't allow. It's less a superpower and more like cheating on the universe. And finally, taking the top spot as the superhero with the most physics-defying powers is Molecule Man. Owen Reese has the ability to control all matter and energy at a molecular and even subatomic level. He can rearrange molecules, transmute elements, create force fields, and even warp reality itself. This level of control over the fundamental building blocks of the universe goes beyond violating individual laws of physics. It essentially allows him to rewrite them, manipulating subatomic constants and superstrings. That's a big no-no in the world of physics. So while these heroes are busy breaking the laws of physics, let's talk about some villains who just break expectations. If you want to discover some truly fantastic but overlooked characters, you absolutely need to click the link on screen right now to watch my previous video, Underrated Spider-Man Villains That Deserve More Love. Go check it out.